Hello and welcome to the Coaching Crowd podcast with me, Zoe Hawkins, and my friend and co-host Jo Wheatley.
Hi, everybody. Great to be with you this week. Today's topic that Zoe and I are going to talk about is what do you need to do to prepare for your coaching qualification to get the most out of it? And the reason that we're discussing that is because it was suggested in one of our posts recently as something that our listeners would find really helpful. So, Zoe, where should we start with this one?
Yeah, and when I think back to when I was doing my coaching qualification, I don't think I did prepare. I think I'm the sort of person who sort of rocked up ready for the experience and just took it as I went. So it's probably not how I would do it today, because I think that in order to get the most from it, there are a number of things that you can do. And the most obvious one, I think, is really starting to get absorbed in the topic of coaching, most specifically around reading, listening to a podcast like this, just starting to really get into, what coaching is, your sort of thoughts and opinions on coaching. And obviously on our program, we provide an extensive recommended reading list. And it's a really good opportunity to take a look at a couple of books. Most of them are available in libraries. You don't have to buy them all. And starting to dig into the topic and finding out more about coaching and mentoring and the different kinds of approaches.
Yeah, and hopefully you'll be enjoying doing that because you've chosen to do a coaching course. So it doesn't feel like work. It feels like a joy and something that actually also helps your well-being. Doing a little bit of reading or listening to podcasts really can help to put the foundations in place. One of the other things that's important, I think, in the preparation for your course is thinking about, have you got the support that you're going to need from the people around you in your life that are going to help you to create boundaries around your learning, to
Mm.
give you the space and the time to be able to focus on the learning. So whether it's attending the session or whether it is doing a little bit of reading or doing practice in your triads, and that may be work colleagues if you're doing it in work time or some of it in work time. It may be family if you need support with childcare or anything else at home, maybe caring responsibilities. So have a think about what you need in terms of that, and have those conversations in advance.
Yeah, when I trained as a coach originally, my life looked very different. I wasn't married, I didn't have any children. I was in a relationship, but it was me, doing things with my time that I chose to do. Whereas when I trained as a coaching supervisor, I had three children under the age of 5 or 6, I think, at the time. And, time planning that qualification was an absolute mission, because there was some in-person time, there were weekly calls, there were then triad calls. So time blocking and diary management became really important to make sure that actually I could engage fully in the program without that noise going on in the background about whether I was going to be able to make something, or whether I was that attendee who would be saying, oh no, I'm really sorry, I can't make those dates. So there was that to be had before I enrolled on the program. But even once I'd enrolled, it was then a case of me and my husband kind of coordinating the times when I would need to be in the program and making sure that we had that foundation in place. And for me, that just helped me to relax and enjoy the process rather than that being a constraint.
It helps when you've got people that are interested around you as well, doesn't it? If they're broadly speaking interested in the topic and you can chat to them, after the session, then them supporting you and holding that space, they also get some benefit from it too. And people that join our programs, a lot of them do have children or other commitments, or they're joining from different time zones. Some are funded by their work, and so work are happy for them perhaps to spend some time in work doing it. Others might be funded by work, but that's the limit of it. They have to do the study in their own time, and some are self-funding and maybe doing it as a very private thing. So there's a broad range of individuals and circumstances, that people have behind the scenes as they join the programs. And so I think it's really important that as much as you possibly can about the format of the coaching program that you're joining. And for us, we have a broad range of formats, and we're broadening them each year as we sit down and we reflect on what have we heard from our learners, how can we make this experience of training to be a coach as easy as possible, given that it is a significant commitment. So whether that's doing weekly evening format, or it's doing it over a weekend, or you prefer to do it in a semi-intensive or an intensive format because that suits your broader commitments and life situation.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to join us on one of our programs, I think, as we expand the communities, that we able to serve. We were having a conversation yesterday, weren't we, with Emma, who's one of our alumni, and she runs the freelance lifestyle, and she's a load of freelancers, and talking about what would be the best format for freelancers. So we talked about a Friday program and studying every single Friday for a certain amount of weeks. And so we're trying out lots of new formats next year to offer variety and increase accessibility to our program. So if you haven't visited our website in a while because you aren't sure if you could have made our previous formats, come and take a look today, because you're likely to find on there at least one format that suits your lifestyle and suits the way that you like to learn.
I think there are some questions as well as you're preparing for the course that are useful to think about. So we encourage you to think about, what are you going to contribute to the group that you're part of, the learning cohort that you're with? What can you bring to that group that's going to be valuable and help to create a healthy learning environment? What are your individual needs? So as you think about joining this new group, meeting these new people, going on this journey with them, knowing that you're going to be coached as well as coaching others and involved in receiving feedback and giving feedback, what do you need in order to get the most out of that experience, in order for you to feel safe and to thrive in that environment? And also think about, what do you need specifically from the trainers? Is there something different that you need from them that perhaps you don't need from other people within the group? And I think this all plays into the concept of, what's your attitude to learning? So everybody that comes on our courses are adult learners. And what we see is that sometimes people find it difficult being back in a learning environment initially, because people come with some coaching skills, whether they've been on some short coaching courses or they've had feedback that they've got a coaching style, and there is unlearning involved as well as learning, and that can be uncomfortable for people. So just thinking about, what's your readiness to learn? What are you open to? What are you willing to let go of? What are you willing to welcome in? How do you feel about, absorbing and taking on lots of new information?
Yeah, well, on the program, we talk about the comfort zone model, don't we? Where there's comfort, stretch, and panic. And I think when you enter into a new environment, and particularly a learning environment, by nature, you're going to be in your stretch zone. If the whole program was in your comfort zone, we wouldn't be doing our jobs properly in terms of enabling you to be the best coach that you can be. So you are going to be, in the stretch zone when you come on this program. And it's because it's helping you to learn and to grow. But of course, when you're in your stretch zone and your skills and strengths are untested, perhaps, or they're reforming, as you said, Jo, some unlearning taking place, with that can come some discomfort as well, some anxiety, as well as excitement and joy and celebration and adventure. So we often describe the process of learning to be a coach as a bit of a roller coaster, a gentle roller coaster, we like to think, not too many drops from a really high height, but a roller coaster of experiences. And so when you're thinking about embarking on the journey, just get into the mindset that that's okay and it's welcomed, and that you're going to be in a forum with lots of other people having a similar experience, not the same experience, because obviously they'll be on their learning journey, but no one's going to just breeze through the whole thing in a very linear line, because we will be there stretching and challenging each and every learner, and depending on where their starting point is. So if you're working with somebody who is experienced, they may be coming to the program to top up their learning from a different starting point, but they will still be experiencing stretch and challenge on their journey, because we'll be applying that stretch and challenge where they need it. So just know that when you come onto a coaching training program, no one is a beginner and no one is the polished article. So you're all in the container together and going on this journey of growth and adventure.
I think that the whole learning thing is, as you're saying, is a different experience for each individual, and it can prompt a whole range of different emotions from individuals. So I know when my husband undertook a very chunky piece of development, and he's dyslexic, and he was concerned about the study and the learning, and not the learning but the study elements of it, and conveying what he knew. So he actually got a book out, or bought a book that was around like how to develop your study skills, so that he felt confident to be able to show up and know how to approach it, I guess, in the most efficient way. And we have learners joining our programs with all sorts of specific needs, and have a think about, how do you feel, like I say, about the learning, and what do you need? Do you need to have a chat with the facilitators or the organization about any specific needs that you have that are going to enable you to be able to learn and get the most out of the program? Because the earlier that you can have those conversations, I think, the better for you to put your mind at ease, and also to enable the organization to be able to meet your needs if they possibly can.
I think the other thing worth considering, obviously, when you're coming into coaching, one of the core pillars you're going to learn about is goals. So what are your goals, as you embark on this adventure? And I would set goals around, obviously, when do you want to complete this by? And if you have the structure of the program, you can break that down into milestones and chunks. But also, what experience do you want to gift yourself with? How are you going to celebrate along the way? What are the milestones that you wish to put in to be able to celebrate, and what does success look like? So really just starting to get into the coach's mindset about this journey that you're going on, because as we know, goals can really help to focus the mind. So when you're enjoying things, and when you're finding the course you're sort of easy and you're in your stride, you get to celebrate that. And when you're finding it more challenging, you've got the clarity of why you're doing it and when you want to do it by, to help to persevere when things feel a bit more challenging.
There's definitely something around how to sustain yourself, because if you think about our level 7 program, which is a master's level qualification, you've got 24 lessons, which are 2.5 hours each, plus then undertaking your 72 hours of coaching practice, plus the supervision and the 3 assignments that go along with it. So that is a significant undertaking. How do you sustain yourself? Because what we can see is that if you need to miss a lesson, maybe you're on holiday, maybe you're unwell, maybe you've got a work commitment that can't be avoided, it can be easy then to think, hard to get back into it the following week, or to think, oh, I've missed that, now I feel behind, and to go into a little bit of a spiral around that, and then feeling perhaps that you don't, that you're not belonging so much in the group because they're further on. So if you're somebody that knows, for example, that you work best when you've got an accountability partner, that could be somebody on the program, or it could be somebody outside of the program, maybe somebody that has done a coaching qualification before. And that's another good thing I think to do for preparation, is to if people that have been on a similar journey, maybe it's with a different provider, but just chat to them. What was their experience? What did they find that helped them, so that there may be some things in there that are helpful for you. And think about, if you prefer having those closer relationships, think about that early on in the program. So when you're being asked around what do you need in terms of support, just pop a message in the chat, or speak to somebody, say, hey, is there anybody that wants to kind of buddy up as accountability partners, or that if you can't make it, they'll be the person that catch you up on what you've missed, and so on.
Yeah, and of course the piece you didn't mention is the pre-learning as well, Jo. So on top of all those elements, there's the pre-learning for those 24 lessons. And actually, one of the great things about studying with us is when you sign up, you get instant access to all of those lessons. So, if you're signing up, say 6 months ahead of when your program starts, you can, as well as you're learning and listening to podcasts and all the things we're talking about here, you can actually still start working through the content. And then when you approach your course, you can go back to and revisit and do a refresh of the particular lesson that you may be studying that day. And that's really going to help you to start to really step into that coach identity and start developing those skills, because the pre-learning that we have within our learning portal is really high quality, teaches you a huge amount about coaching, and you get to see live demonstrations of coaching activities. So you're going to get a very good experience of your coaching program just by the pre-learning alone. And that is before you even come on the live sessions and start practicing it and being able to ask questions within your community group as well. So if you're somebody who really wants to get ahead and get learning and feel like they're not a total novice, sign up early, get your access to the learning portal and start working through those lessons. And you're going to feel like you're in a really great place when you join the program for the live sessions.
I think it's also recommended to sign up early because the courses sell out. So in order to get the format or the date that you want, you really do need to be thinking about it in advance. If we think more broadly in terms of getting yourself set up for success, I think it's useful to research and connect into the coaching accreditation bodies. There are 3 main ones in the UK where we are based, and they have all got their own competency frameworks for coaching. They have code of ethics. They run events for members and non-members. Your course will hopefully be accredited, by at least one of them. Ours are. And just familiarize yourself, because that's part of getting into that coaching world, as Zoe was talking about, and just getting insights and working out, who are the people that I want to follow. And that's another thing you can do in preparation, is learn about who are the people on your other social media channels that talk about coaching, that are going to inspire you and actually also help you to learn without even realizing it, because you'll see things in your feed, you'll read it, it'll prompt new thoughts for you. If you're interested in particular maybe more specialist areas of coaching, whether that's coaching outdoors or coaching with ADHD or climate coaching or coaching execs or coaching young people, also start to just read around those areas as well, because there may be things there that inspire you or give you questions that you might want to ask on your coaching training.
Yeah. And I think the piece you're talking about there, connecting, takes me to your network. So one of the things we encourage people to do on our program, if it's what they want to do, is to start to socialize their network. So recognizing that you have coaching hours to do, 72 hours for the level 7, 54 for the level 5. Most people start to worry, where am I going to find my coachees from? Like, how am I going to get my coaching hours done? And what we tend to find is most people get theirs through their network. That might be a LinkedIn network or Instagram or Facebook. Most of our learners tend to be on LinkedIn. So have a look at your LinkedIn profile. Firstly, do you have one? Secondly, do you want to have one, and what might it do for you? If you do have one, just start to refresh it. So start connecting with people in your organization, people that you used to work with, friends and colleagues from other organizations, people you might meet at different seminars and trainings. Connect with Joe and I, connect with your facilitators if they aren't Joe and I, connect with other course learners that you might see pop up saying, oh, I just signed up for September. Connect with them. Hey, I signed up for September too. It's a great opportunity to start to build your network. And as you're building your network and you're doing your learning and you're reading and listening to podcasts and working through the pre-learning, put the occasional post up. Oh, I learned this today. This is really exciting. Or I can already start applying this in my role as a leader. Whatever it is, take people on the journey with you around your coaching experience, because by the time you're then ready to find coachees to work with, your network are already aware that you're on this journey, and they've been following in some of your posts and your engagement and your joy for coaching. And when they see you post, they're either going to say, I know just the person for you, I'm going to connect you up, or they might say, I really fancy a little bit of that coaching. If you don't know them too well and they're a connection that's 1 or 2 removed from you, then they could be a great person to coach. And if they're not, and you know them really well, maybe it's an ex-colleague that you worked closely with, you can offer that person to somebody in your cohort, and somebody in your cohort will offer you somebody that they used to work with. So there's often an exchange. So the piece around finding people to coach, whilst we know it is often a big worry, doesn't tend to transpire to be a problem, especially if you're sort of building your network along the way as well.
And then I think there are some practical things that people care about as well, which are getting new stationery. People get so excited. So getting a new notebook, to take notes from your coaching course, one that when you look at, you want to pick up and you want to touch and you want to, add things to, and it feels special to you. And the same for pens as well. We get lots of pictures, don't we, about got my stuff, ready to go. I'd also encourage you to think about, where are you going to engage in your coaching program? So if you're doing a coaching program virtually online, like our programs, maybe you're going to choose somewhere that is not where you might be sat doing your day job. somewhere that can anchor you into coaching and what that is like. 'Cause we do hear that does make a difference for people, being in a different environment to maybe where you're sat, where you're HR director or HR manager or whatever your day job is. So have a little think about those practical things, even having a nice drink with you that you always drink. So when you're doing your coaching qualification, something that just what are the little things that nurture you, that make you smile, so and give you that little bit of a boost as you sit down. Maybe you're going to have certain sweets or snacks that you treat yourself to to sustain your energy as well for the practice.
It's like back to school vibes, but this time like a really good school,
Yeah.
with a really positive experience. And I remember actually who were chatting to somebody this week, weren't we, around that school and the anchors that you might have about study. And we know that not everybody comes to learning having had a positive experience of school. So I think what you're talking about there, Joe, is like create an environment which you feel joyful entering. We will be able to create a container where your experience of learning as an adult will not necessarily be the same one that you had, as a child or as a teenager. We want you to enjoy this process. We want to remove obstacles and challenges. We want everybody to be able to engage in this and increase access to great coaching education. And so create an environment which is joyful for you. So I hope today is really, given you an idea of all the ways that you can prepare for your coaching qualification. Come and take a look at our programs on our website, igcompany.co.uk. And if you've enjoyed today's podcast, please do rate the podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. If you can leave us a review, please do. We really appreciate those. And we look forward to welcoming you onto one of our programs very soon.